As Jay and I stood in the driveway, the night sky stretched above us, a blanket of stars shimmering with a cold, distant light. We were engrossed in our conversation, barely noticing the world around us. That is, until our eyes were drawn across the street to the edge of the woods. The orange light, small and flickering, seemed out of place against the vast blackness of the forest. We squinted, trying to make sense of it. It wasn't a car's headlights. Those were far too bright and constant. It wasn't a street lamp. There were no lights that color in the vicinity. The more we looked, the more it became apparent that the light was moving, shifting erratically among the trees. It bobbed and swayed as if it had a mind of its own. We speculated that it could be someone's flashlight, perhaps from someone wandering through the field. But the way it moved didn't quite match up with the predictable path of a human. Jay suggested that the light might be a trick of the eye, a reflection from something mundane we just couldn't see clearly. It was tempting to dismiss it as such, but there was a lingering feeling that something was off. The light had an unnatural quality to it, and its erratic movements only added to the unsettling atmosphere. As we continued to watch, it felt like the light was deliberately avoiding our gaze, slipping in and out of sight, almost as if it were teasing us. The night air grew colder, and the once cozy and relaxed moment now seemed tainted by a creeping sense of unease. Despite our best efforts to rationalize what we were seeing, the strange orange light remained a perplexing anomaly. Each time we thought we had figured it out, the light shifted again, leaving us with more questions than answers. The peaceful night had taken on a new, unsettling character, and we both couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched, or perhaps that something was watching us. In a bid to dispel the mounting tension, Jay suggested we try whistling to see if the light would react. The idea struck me as strange and a bit silly, but there was something in Jay's tone that suggested he was just as curious as I was. We figured it was worth a shot. Jay took a deep breath and whistled a short, playful tune into the night air, the sound cutting through the stillness. At first, nothing happened. The light continued to flicker in the distance, seemingly indifferent to our attempt at interaction. But then something shifted. The orange glow seemed to pulse in response, growing brighter and more intense. It began to move more erratically, darting through the trees with a speed that seemed almost purposeful. The light appeared to follow the pattern of Jay's whistling, as if it were somehow attuned to the sound. I watched in disbelief as the light drew closer to the fence. It was now so close that we could make out its movement through the gaps in the fence. It wasn't just moving randomly anymore. It seemed to be approaching us, guided by the rhythm of Jay's whistling. The realization that the light might be responding to us made the air feel thicker, and a chill ran down my spine. Jay and I exchanged uneasy glances, both of us feeling the growing sense of unease. The light's movements became more erratic, almost frantic, as if it were trying to get closer, to reach out to us. The cheerful whistle we had started with now felt out of place in the tense atmosphere. The light's reaction seemed to defy logic, adding a layer of mystery and discomfort to the already strange situation. We were caught in a strange dance with whatever this light was, and each note of Jay's whistling seemed to push the boundaries of our growing fear. As we continued to observe the light's peculiar behavior, the sense of unease became palpable. The playful atmosphere of our earlier conversation was replaced by a heavy silence, each of us absorbed in the growing tension. The orange light, now moving more erratically, seemed to be almost alive, reacting to our every sound with a disturbing responsiveness. The rustling of leaves and occasional snap of twigs in the woods grew louder, creating a backdrop of unsettling noises. It felt as if the forest itself was responding to the light's movements, amplifying our anxiety. We strained our ears, trying to discern whether the sounds were the result of natural wildlife or something more sinister creeping through the underbrush. Our attempts to rationalize the situation only fueled our growing discomfort. What could be causing the light to behave in such a manner? The idea of someone wandering through the field seemed increasingly implausible. The light's movements didn't fit with the patterns of a person with a flashlight. Instead, it seemed to be orchestrating its own erratic dance. We questioned whether our presence had somehow attracted or provoked whatever was in the woods. The more we watched, the more the light's behavior seemed to defy explanation. It darted around the trees, flickering and fading in a way that felt almost deliberate. Each time Jay whistled, the light would respond with increased intensity, as if it were trying to communicate or lure us. The situation began to feel like a game, but one with stakes far beyond our comprehension. Our initial curiosity had turned into a palpable fear, making us wonder if our interference had awakened something that should have remained undisturbed. Just as abruptly as it had begun, the orange light vanished without a trace. One moment it was darting and flickering among the trees, and the next it was gone. The abrupt disappearance left us in stunned silence, staring at the now darkened woods, where only the occasional rustle of leaves hinted at the presence of the wind. We waited in the eerie stillness, hoping the light might reappear or that some explanation would present itself. But the night was quiet, almost unnervingly so. The unsettling feeling that had settled over us only intensified in the absence of the light. It was as if the woods had swallowed it whole, leaving no evidence of its presence. Jay and I exchanged worried glances, each of us grappling with the sudden shift from tension to an uneasy calm. The playful, curious energy we had shared moments before was now replaced by a lingering sense of dread. The field and the woods, once familiar, now felt alien and foreboding. We could no longer dismiss what we had seen as a mere trick of the light or an overactive imagination. With the light gone, the night's silence felt oppressive. We decided it was best to retreat inside, both feeling a mix of fear and relief. As we walked away from the driveway, the inexplicable encounter weighed heavily on our minds. We couldn't shake the feeling that we had crossed a line, disturbed something that was better left alone. The strange event remained a haunting memory, a reminder of how the night and its mysteries could turn from ordinary to extraordinary in the blink of an eye.